Beginning, the creature in the dark. The distress beacon had been looping for 3 days when Elias Vance finally found it. His cargo vessel, the Wayfarer, wasn't built for rescue missions. It was old, patched together from salvaged hull plates and stubborn optimism. But Elias had learned long ago that in deep space, you didn't ignore distress calls. You answered them, or you became the kind of person you feared. The signal led him to a drifting research station orbiting a dead star, a skeletal structure of blackened metal and shattered windows. Station KX-9, Elias muttered, scanning the readouts. What happened to you? No response. No life signs. Only silence. He docked cautiously, his pulse tightening as the airlock hissed open. Inside, the station was dim, emergency lights flickering weakly. The walls were scarred, burn marks, claw marks, something far worse than simple damage. Something had happened here. Something violent. Elias gripped his plasma cutter tighter as he moved through the corridors. The smell hit him first, burnt circuits and something organic, something wrong. Then he saw the bodies. Scientists. Security personnel. Some were torn apart. Others cocooned, wrapped in thick, pale strands that clung to walls and ceilings like grotesque decorations. Elias froze. No, 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 no. His mind raced through every xenobiology file he'd ever skimmed. Arachnid species, hive predators, territorial killers. His grip tightened. I should leave, he whispered. But then he heard it. A faint sound. Not a growl. Not a hiss. A voice. Help. Elias turned slowly toward the sound, dread creeping up his spine. It came from deeper within the station. And against every instinct screaming at him to run, he followed it. The first encounter. The voice led him to a sealed lab chamber. The door was partially crushed, bent inward like something had forced its way out, or in. Elias squeezed through the gap. And stopped. At first, he thought it was a nightmare. The creature crouched in the far corner, partially hidden in shadow. It was tall, too tall, its form both humanoid and monstrous. A slender upper torso, pale skin, long dark hair cascading down her back. But below the waist, 8 long, chitinous legs spread outward, each tipped with sharp points that clicked softly against the metal floor. A spider. A massive alien spider. Her eyes, too many, too reflective, locked onto his. Elias staggered back, nearly dropping his weapon. Stay back, he shouted. The creature flinched. Not aggressive. Afraid. I won't hurt you, she said, her voice trembling. Elias blinked. You speak English? Learned from them, she said weakly, glancing at the corpses. His stomach twisted. You killed them. Her eyes widened, filled with something like pain. No, not all. Not first. Elias hesitated. Everything in him screamed danger. But something didn't add up. If she had slaughtered everyone, why was she injured? Why was she shaking? Why was she pleading? Explain, he demanded. The spider girl shifted, wincing as one of her legs trembled unnaturally. They found me on my world. Took me. Studied me. Cut me, tested me. Her voice cracked. Others came. Hunters. Not like me. Elias frowned. Others? She nodded slowly. Pure predators. No thought. No mercy. They breached the station. Killed everything. And you? Elias asked carefully. I fought them, she whispered. Protected who I could. Elias looked around the room again. The cocoon bodies. Not eaten. Preserved. Those people, he said slowly. They're still alive, aren't they? She nodded. Sleeping. Safe. Elias lowered his weapon. Just slightly. You're not the monster here, are you? Her eyes shimmered. No, she whispered. Middle. The hunters return. Elias worked quickly after that. He helped stabilize her injured leg using emergency med gel and structural braces. Up close, he realized she wasn't terrifying because she was evil. She was terrifying because she was different. "I'm Elias," he said as he worked. She hesitated. "I do not have a name humans can say." "Try me." She thought for a moment. "Kale Thera." Elias nodded. "Kale. Easier." She seemed to like that. For a brief moment, there was something like peace. Then the station shook. Hard. Alarms screamed to life. "Warning. External breach detected." Kale froze. Her entire body went rigid. "They're here," she whispered. Elias looked at her sharply. "The hunters?" Her voice dropped, filled with dread. "Yes." The hull groaned again as something slammed into the station from the outside. Then came the sound. Scratching. Clawing. Many of them. Elias cursed under his breath. "How many?" Kale's voice was barely audible. "Too many." The walls began to split open as razor-sharp limbs punched through metal like paper. Massive shapes forced their way inside, larger, more monstrous versions of Kale, their bodies bulkier, their eyes empty. No intelligence, only hunger. Elias raised his weapon. "Stay behind me." Kale stared at him in disbelief. "They will kill you." "Not without a fight." The first creature lunged. Elias fired, the plasma blast scorching its face, but it barely slowed. It crashed into him, sending him skidding across the floor. Pain exploded through his ribs. Before it could strike again, a blur of movement. "Kale." She slammed into the creature with terrifying speed, her legs striking like spears. She drove it back, her movements fluid, precise, controlled. Not like the others. Not savage. Focused. Protective. "Stay behind me," she said, echoing his words. Elias coughed, trying to stand. "You're full of surprises." More creatures poured in. Kale moved like a storm. Each strike was deliberate. Each movement calculated. She wasn't just fighting, she was defending. Defending him. Defending the station. Defending the helpless. Elias forced himself up and joined her, firing into weak points she exposed with surgical precision. They fought back to back. Human and alien. Fear and trust colliding in the middle of chaos. At one point, a creature lunged from behind Elias. He didn't even see it, but Kale did. She threw herself between them. The creature's claws pierced her side. She screamed. Elias's world went red. "No!" He emptied his weapon into the attacker until it collapsed, twitching. The remaining creatures hesitated. Then, as if sensing something had changed, they retreated. Silence fell, broken only by Kale's labored breathing. The bond forged in battle. Elias rushed to her side. "Kale, stay with me." She was bleeding, a dark, shimmering fluid pooling beneath her. "You should have run," she whispered. "Not a chance," he snapped. "You saved me." Her eyes softened. "You stayed when you feared me." Elias clenched his jaw. "I was wrong to fear you." She gave a faint, almost human smile. "Fear is natural, but you chose something else." He pressed a stabilizer against her wound. "Yeah, I chose to trust you." For a long moment, neither spoke. Then she reached out, gently gripping his arm. "You are different from others." "Good different or bad different?" he asked. "Good," she said softly. Ending, the protector. Rescue ships arrived 2 days later. Elias had sent out a priority signal, and this time, it was answered quickly. The surviving scientists were recovered, alive, just as Kale had promised. The official reports were complicated. Some wanted Kale studied, contained, controlled. Elias stood in the docking bay as armed personnel approached her. "She's not your experiment," he said firmly. "She's not human," one officer replied. "No," Elias said. "She's better than what you think she is." Cale stood behind him, silent, watching, waiting. One of the rescued scientists stepped forward. "She saved us," he said. "All of us." Another nodded. "And him," she added, pointing to Elias. The tension shifted. Slowly, reluctantly, the commander exhaled. "She's free to go," he said. "But she can't stay here." Elias turned to Cale. "What will you do?" She looked toward the stars beyond the hangar. "My kind they hunt. Destroy. I do not belong with them." He nodded. "Then come with me." She blinked. "Your ship?" "Yeah." "It's not much," but he smiled slightly. "It's home." She studied him carefully. "You are not afraid anymore?" Elias shrugged. "A little, but not of you." That seemed to matter. A lot. She stepped forward. "I will protect you," she said. Elias chuckled. "I think we'll protect each other."